I'm that guy right there. And I am a developer advocate with Camunda. So I do a huge amount of work around helping the community work with Camunda and do all sorts of stuff. I am joined, as always, by my hawk, Tim Shaw. Tim Shaw is not enjoying lockdown. Tim Shaw likes flying quite a lot. And unfortunately, due to COVID, the flights going out are much fewer, and Tim is not dealing with that very well. But I'm sure Tim will catch up in the near future. So I kind of want to tell you guys about a little hobby that I've been doing during lockdown that inspired this presentation. I've been traveling to distant lands, adventuring with friends, and fighting mysterious creatures. Most importantly, of course, rolling dice, usually those little ones, which is not usually a good sign. What this means is I have been playing a whole bunch of pen and paper board games, Dungeons and Dragons, for instance, as an example, where we sort of decide how the story goes based on collaborative storytelling. Now, obviously, I can't do this like in the old days where we'd sit around the same table maskless, but instead I've been doing this online using the awesome power of a really cool tool called Roll20. Check it out, where we all sit around, roll dice, and doing stuff. The problem is I am merely a participant in this event, and I would rather be the controller of the world and be able to dictate what happens next. I've got that vibe about me. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity to steal you away from the knowledge sharing and the fun events in order to try and crowbar a reason why I'm trying to talk about BPMN and Dungeons and Dragons. And here are the reasons I come up with. Well, we can help visualize your adventure. We can actually show you the path that we take. We can show how dynamic BPMN can be. When we talk about dynamic storytelling, lots of things can happen. And a lot of people consider BPMN to be very rigid and very step-by-step, but actually you can do loads and loads of very spontaneous things. We can also automate our adventure for the best possible replayability, which is, of course, very important to me. So I'm going to need everybody here because I need you all to join Slido because you are going to guide us in this direction. We are going to control the journey together. And the very first thing that I'm going to ask you guys to do is to help us with a fundamental part of every quest, which is we need to name our character. So if you wouldn't mind, throw some names out there. There's already 2 there. That's good. Just give me some names that come to mind, some really good character names for our adventure. And then luckily enough, I might even pick one. I think there are like 2 Patricks on the call. So if someone chooses Patrick, I'm going to assume that it's entirely Hawkeye is not bad. It might be a copyright infringement though. Winner, that's a little premature. We haven't even started the adventure yet. And there are lots of possible ways of dying in this particular thing. What else we got? Is no one else inspired? Deadlock? Deadlock is good. I like Deadlock. That's a good name. That's my winner so far. A demo god. Oh, that's great. Event Gateway. Can you imagine naming your child Event? Ducky. Oh, I'm stuck between Demo God and Deadlock. Okay. Might go with Demo God, I think, just because of Sharish's mention. So how do we start our adventure? Flow Coder. That's good as well. Yeah, I'll come back to those. We're going to start our adventure with BPMN. Okay, so we begin at a start event that everyone can see. Adventure begins. Okay, and next up, we enter a room. We see 3 doors. Okay, so what do we do next? But don't worry, you can tell me because we are going to find out what we should do in order to model this further. Ooh, that's the wrong thing. Let's see. Let's try this one. Okay. Yeah, your quiz now is, you see 3 doors in front of you. What symbol are we going to use in order to try and find out which door to go through? So We have XOR is at 6. Parallel, people are feeling they can split themselves. Interesting. No one is going the basic OR gateway. Okay, now this is a tester question. This is to see you guys are paying attention, and I think you are a little bit. That's good. It looks like XOR is the best one. So I'm going to go back to my model, and I'm going to model my XOR gateway here. And I'm going to say, have 3 exits. Okay. And we don't know what's in these things yet. So the gateway basically is going to move our process forward. So what door did you pick? Okay. So we have 3 possibilities. We have green, red, or blue, I think. And the only way to know for sure which way to go is, of course, to let you guys know. Now, listen, just for full immersion here, the green door, very old looking. The red door, shiny and new. And the blue door, it is it's almost see-through. That's what you see in front of you. Okay, so which door do you want to go through? It's an important question. This could, red straight out of the gate. People are a big fan of the shiny red door. Oh, green is picking up. That's good. Okay, I'll give it a few more seconds. Green again. I guess red has fallen back a bit. I guess less favorable. Okay. Oh, only 14 answers so far. People can still sway this. Oh, red has dropped to last place. Okay, so that's probably quite good. That's not bad so far. So let's continue our model. We'll go green. Green looks like a good option. So let's first, this is the red route. This is the blue route. And this one up here is the green. So let's first of all, it's the route we did not take for those who are interested. This one here is room full of gold. Sorry, guys, you missed that one. That's a real shame. And then that ends. Blue would have been all your friends at a meal waiting for you. Again, I'm very sorry you missed that. So where are we now? What has entered? Well, we enter the room. It's dark. Okay. Suddenly you hear a noise and the walls are starting to close in. Oh no, what are you going to do next? This is terrible. So let's, but I need some ideas. This is no longer a choice. We need some ideas of what we could possibly do next. Error event is an interesting option. It's not really a great idea right now. How can we escape the door closing in? Time to ticking, people. I might even put a timer event on this. Escape event, if one existed. Use powers, scream, quality answer, use the force. Not bad. These are all very good options. Jump, throw an arrow against the wall, pray to the demigods. I'm assuming that's your wish. Duck and cover. I'm not gonna lie to you, that is probably the one thing that will not help in this situation. Okay, we have no one has considered opening the door, which is fine. I mean, I would have assumed somebody would have thought of just opening the door. But unfortunately, I will call the Avengers. I will tell you now, opening the door will not work because the door is locked. Luckily, here we go. So we'll just end up going back in there. Now, luckily, there are some good options here. I think, go back, it's great. Sorry, not gonna work this time. Open the door, finally someone that decided. I think using the force is a very good option. I think I'm going to go with that. So now to escape our scenario, knowing that we can't go forward, the only way to escape this is actually by having a conditional event. The condition being you use the force. Great, we've used the force and now we have managed to break our way through to a different hidden passage, and we are now entering a crypt. Ooh, spooky. Okay, now as we enter this crypt, it's very, very dark. We see two things that are very obvious. We see a skeleton in the corner, very dusty, not moving. But we also see a treasure chest that is just sitting there waiting for us to perhaps open it. So what options do you want to go with? Do you want to try and touch the dusty skeleton, or do you want to try and open the chest? Poke the lifeless skeleton, for some reason, shot to the top. I'm assuming the people in this call have some kind of death wish. There we go. Much more shouting for help, just randomly. That's good as well. Seriously, you guys want to poke a skeleton? That's where you want to go? You're in a crypt, and that's okay. I'm glad there's some reason being restored here. Still 15 people have voted. We can probably still shift things. Okay, well, I guess if you guys want to poke a skeleton, that's what you get. So let's get back to our, you poke the skeleton and it immediately comes to life. Okay, how will we model this? We're going to take into an event that can happen at any time, which is you are suddenly attacked by the skeleton. Now in BPMN, you can do that by using an event subprocess. By using this, you can basically trigger an event that could happen at any time. And this is, you are attacked, and now you need to defend yourself. Now, there's a real issue here, people, because the potential for our story to end at this point is real. So just be aware the stakes are high, okay? Because we could, did you win the fight? If you did, great. We will continue as normal. If you did not, we will throw an error event, and you will, of course, end your adventure far too soon, and you'll end up dead, which is very sad. So we want to avoid that. So how do people usually deal with fights? Anyone who knows me might be a little bit aware that I have a very specific way in which I like people to deal with fights, and that is through the awesome power of quizzing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a quiz. So everyone get ready for this in Slido. And if half of the people get a question correct, okay, that means that we are going to hit the beast. If half of the people get it wrong, the beast hits you. If we get hit 3 times, that is it. That is as much as we can handle. You only get 30 seconds to answer the question, people. So get your brains going. Okay, and get ready for this quiz. Okay, on your marks, get set. Let's quiz. So join the quiz. Okay, we have Lucas joined. Great. Peace. Great. Enter your name, and as soon as we have enough people, I'm going to start up. Great stuff. Burned, good to see that you're helping everyone get through this fight. Okay. Anyone else want to join the quiz before I click start? Do so now. Still people joining. The quiz will be topics ranging from things that have been said today all the way to things that are just kind of slightly amusing. Okay, we have 19 people have joined, so let's kick things off. First question is, what is the saga pattern? Is it a D&D campaign from 1982? Is it a K-pop band? Is it a way of reversing asynchronous actions? Or is it the title of the picture behind Burned? Okay, a lot of people are guessing this. 13, 14 guesses, 5 seconds left. Let's see how we got on. 2, 1. What happened? Okay. Everyone went with the way of reversing asynchronous actions. Let's see the correct answer. Well done. We've survived our first hit. Well done, everybody. Congratulations. So death is 1 step further away, but let's see what happens next. Which of these is primarily for process reporting like heat maps? Is it Camunda Optimize, Camunda Cockpit, Kavimo, Camunda Admin? This, of course, testing your knowledge of Camunda stuff. Looks so far like people have a pretty good idea. Five seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And most people went for Camunda Optimize. Well done. Someone with Cockpit. While Cockpit does have a heat map, it is not primarily used for that. So sadly, that is the wrong answer. Instead, it is Optimized. Well done. We are flawless in this battle. We are so far beating the monster and the skeleton after poking it. Realistically, are we the bad guys in this scenario? There was a resting skeleton, we poked it, and now it's just kind of, now we're beating it up. It seems unfair. But let's move on. Who will replace Jeff Bezos as CEO of Amazon? Ooh, I can straight away tell that people do not know the answer to this one. The guesses are all over the place.
Very actual of you now.
Okay. Oh, it's very tight. It's very, very tight. 17 left. Oh my goodness. It is 40%, 40% for Andy Jassy and Jeffrey A. Wilke. The correct answer is Andrew Jass. But unfortunately, I said more than 50% have to get this correct. And unfortunately, you guys didn't agree on this. So sadly, you've taken a hit, people. Things are looking dangerous, but don't worry. The monster is feeling a little bit more of a second wind, but we can use this against them. Our next question. What was the name of my hawk? Was it Buff Chatteris, Tom Liftbig, Tim Shaw, or Brad Jones? See, this is the true question to find out who's paying attention. If you're paying attention to the things that don't matter at all, then this is ideal. Okay, most people think it's Tim Shaw, and that is indeed correct. Well done. We have survived. We've made it past the battle. Oh no, we got one more question. Sorry about this. In Dungeons and Dragons, which of these is not a term used when you roll a 20 on a 20-sided dice? So which of these is not used? We have nat 20, critical success, lawful good, crit. We have more Dungeons and Dragons fans in this room than I would have assumed. Okay, most people went with lawful good, and they would be correct. Well done. And the people who did the best, Martin, Keith, Ralph, Laura, and Ham. Well done, you people. You did really well. You helped us. The hardest question was the CEO, and yeah, that's quite obvious. But well done. So we have managed to survive, and we have managed as well to get out of the crypt. But now we got one final problem. We have fallen down a hole. Now, this is a sub-process. So we've fallen down and we've actually fallen into an entirely different process. I will show you that process right now so you know exactly where you're trapped. There we go. Rather than building it from scratch. Okay, we have fallen down and now we are here. We are trapped in darkness. We have a certain amount of time before the air runs out, and we have to do something to escape. And luckily, people, I can tell you now, this is the last thing that we can get through. If we can figure this problem out, we might be able to survive this adventure. And then we'll get into automation next. So we've fallen down our hole into this process, and now we need to somehow get out of this in order to arrive back here. So what are the options that we have? Let's take a look. I'm specifically going to ask for a symbol. So what symbol will help us get out of this hole, do you think? We're in a sub-process. We need to get back to the main process. We have the error event, conditional event, message event, and the underutilized scream for help event. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad people are screaming for help. Message event, interesting. Error event. a lot of people went with the conditional, with the, yeah, a lot of people went message event. So now all of these are kind of options, but there is a better option. When you're in a sub-process and you want to communicate to the parent process, your best bet is always to throw either an error event or a conditional event. The reason is because you're able to, because the sub-process is aware of its parent, you don't need to know, and you don't have to do any correlation like you would with a regular message event. With a message event, you would need to try and find how to send the process back. But in this case, you just throw an error, and provided that you catch it correctly, then you are safe. Let's just put an end event, an error event here for dead. So we have jumped up, we have escaped, we've used our error event, and now we are safe and sound, and the adventure has ended. Okay, so there is our process. We managed to do our fun D&D adventure. And this is kind of what it's like to play sort of these kind of role-playing games. You decide what's going on and you go through, but I am more about predictable sort of process stuff, which is why I'm going to just kill this for now. Oh, actually, maybe I'll just open up. I want to make this a more enjoyable, more repeatable, fun journey for everybody, because we all had fun, right? I can see all your lovely faces, by which I mean black boxes with your names on them. And I can obviously see that you had a fantastic time and you would want to relive this moment again. So I'm going to do you guys a big favor, because this thing we built is XML and it is executable. So we can turn this quite randomly generated little event thing or a process into something repeatable, predictable, fun, and for the whole family. So let's start with opening up an ID, because unlike Byrne's example, this is going to be a self-contained little Spring Boot application, nothing else external. So let me explain this. For those of you who know Spring Boot, we have a Spring Boot application. So the POM file just has some Spring Boot stuff, and I've simply added the engine to it, which are these things here. I think, yeah, that's the REST API and that's the web apps. Okay, pretty straightforward. I've also added some resources here, specifically this process, which may look familiar to some of you. Not that one. That one will look familiar to none of you. This one will look familiar to some of you. Oh, look at that. It's very familiar, I'm sure. It is the adventure that we just shared together. It's almost like I planned and railroaded you into choosing stuff. And you can see that we have the doors in question, and we have the battle up here and everything else, and everything is there, but we still have to automate it. Now, unlike Shurish and Byrne, this is a very user-orientated event. And so for that, I've decided I want to show users what I showed you, which is show them a picture, give them some options, basically add user interfaces. So let's start and take a look at this. This is the properties panel where I can add the various bits and pieces. So here, what I've done is I've added a form, and it's called Pick a Door. It's a HTML form. Now, this is just the location of it. So it's embedded. It's in the application. It's under the forms folder. So let's take a look at so that's where our process model is. Under forms, we have Pick a Door, which is some basic HTML. Okay. So that's how we start. I also started by adding a very important part, which is the name of our adventurer. So let's kick things off and let's start our adventure. This is deployed right now, so I can show you as I step through it the various steps we have. So let's log in, demo. This Spring Boot application is just running, and let's start our adventure. And Demo God was the name of our adventurer, so I shall click start. And we have our first task. You're looking around a room. You're facing 3 doors. This probably sounds familiar. So right now we can see we're at this point of our adventure, the very beginning. And in this case, I'm going to try and choose a different door, which is the red one. And we're going to see how we move forward. Okay, oh no, the walls have started closing in. You may remember this as well. So let's take a look at how I managed to do that. In the process model itself, we have a form that asks a user to pick a door from a dropdown. That is then put into a variable that we then use to decide which way to go. So if the door we choose is red, we go this way. If the door we choose is green, we go this way, and blue, we go this way. So we chose this way, so we can then infer from the context of what's going on that we can ask the engine what door did they choose from this gateway, and then go right here. So that's where we're at right now. We can see that we are at, in our diagram, we are right here. And we can also see that we are stuck somewhere, but don't worry, we have a plan of escape. Okay, so let's escape. Let's try and let's try the tactic of duck and cover and see if that works. Oh, okay, so that didn't work at all. We're still stuck. Let's try again. Let's try and scream. That was one of the options as well. Nope, didn't work at all. We're really stuck here. So what can we do? Well, we can use our hidden force powers. Okay, let's see if that works. Hey, look, it worked. So what happened there? We are now in the crypt, which you guys may remember, with our skeleton on our chest. So let's take a look at the model and find out how we did that. So at this point, I was able to say, give me, in the form, it basically asked, give me what you want to do. And it always went around this way. Here is our little event here. And this basically says that if our escape plan contains the word hidden, which is what I typed in there, then we're actually not going, we're going to skip this task and go up this direction instead. So we're able to interrupt the path that we plan on based on input from the user and then look around the crypt. Now, in this case, it's slightly different because in the crypt, we don't want to leave the crypt to fight anything. Instead, we want to actually trigger the fight from happening, but continue on the same path. This is what this escalation is, why this is so dynamic. In this case, we have some options as where to go, but from this perspective, where we're in the crypt, the fight can happen in parallel to us being in the crypt. And how do we do that? We do that by triggering an event, specifically a non-interrupting event. So I want to show you how you do that. And well, first I'll show you how the front end. So first of all, we have our options. We have our touch the skeleton or try and open the chest. And then we have this button here that says click when you're ready. Now, that button on a code perspective is doing something pretty simple. Let's go to the time. There we go. So if you go down, it's very simple HTML. We have here the button, and the button just says, this is a regular button, and it's a CAM escalation code. Now, this means you can really easily trigger an event from the process by giving a user just a button to click. So as soon as you click that, the engine then has this event that triggers and then can be caught. In this case, the event is called fight. And then in our model, we basically tell this thing, you can see the event here is saying, you're waiting for a fight event to happen. And if that happens, then trigger this. So let's see how that looks in, I was going to say real life, but let's trigger, click this button, and aha, we are now face to face with an evil chest that's going to kill us. The skeleton apparently is not here right now. So at the moment, from cockpit, we'll be able to see that we are actually in two places at once. We are both in the crypt, and we are also fighting for our lives. And you can see that by having two tasks open. We're still in the crypt, and we're also doing this. So let's fight this monster. We have punch, kick, run, scream, chat. I wonder if I have a quiz for this. I'm not sure I even thought this far ahead. I'm going to go with scream. I think we haven't screamed enough yet. It's a very spooky looking chest. So if I complete that, hooray, we have defeated the monster. It has gone away. And we can see then from cockpit, if we refresh, that is gone and we can move on. So we are making our trip. Now we can leave our, our crypt and we can continue. And you may recall, we fell down a hole. So here we are in our little hole, which is a shame. And now we can actually sort of decide to take a look at where exactly we are. And if I can click in here, you'll see that we are now trapped in darkness. We have a timer here. So we have 5 minutes to try and get out of this. So let me show you how that model works. So we are trapped here. We have some thing we can do, and then we have this timer which says PT 5 minutes, which means after 5 minutes, this will interrupt the process and it'll end. So we want to try and solve this before that happens. So let's take a look at, and to call that process, I've simply said this thing here calls a process called down a hole and give me the latest version. It's very, very easy to call multiple processes. Okay, so how does that look from the perspective of a user? So they're trapped in darkness and they're going to choose to do a thing like sit, for instance. Does sitting help? Sitting does not help. We just go around again. Now, let's take a look at a very important part of this process that I haven't really paid attention to, which is the service task. The service task right here is checking what we decided to do, and it is going to do some sort of Java code. Now, in this case, you see here the implementation type is delegate expression, and here it just has an expression that says something to escape. Now, what does that refer to? If you're using a Spring Boot application or you have beans at all, then you can basically do something where you can reference a bean really easily with and directly using this delegate expression method. So this actually references the only Java class I have here, which is called, and it is a named bean called something to escape. And this thing then basically gets the execution. It will then get the variable action to see what action wants to be performed. And then it'll check if you've chosen scream, it will scream for you. Very handy. You don't have to like use your own voice or hurt your throat. This service will scream for you, no problem. If you have decided to sit down, your butt gets wet. Makes sense. That's a common thing to happen. Now you can see here that if we actually try and jump, we're throwing a BPMN error, and that's what we want to do. So we're throwing a BPMN error jump. Now, why will that work? Because if this throws an error jump, what it'll do is it'll actually look up the scope and see, I'm going to throw this error, and I'm wondering, is anyone waiting to catch this? And going back here, we have an error event that's specifically waiting for the jump error to happen. And if it does, instead of going straight over here to dying, we are then get to be safe. So let's do that now. Okay, so let's jump. Hooray, we're safe. We won D&D. Well done, everybody. And we can now live in safety and happiness. So this is a pretty simple example of ways in which a process can be quite dynamic and actually deal with all sorts of events that might happen, and also be able to repeat those things. But I also want to show you another thing, which is kind of nice, which is the data behind everything I just did. Because one of the things that I really quite enjoy about playing Dungeons and Dragons is like talking about the story that happened and going through the events of that. So let me show you how I might do that. So here we have Optimize. Now I've started this up and I've pointed it at the engine, and Optimize, as I mentioned in the quiz earlier, is actually used for reporting on process instances and reporting on whatever things are going to happen within the process. So in this case, I'm going to create a new report, and I'm just going to create a simple report, heat map. I'm going to use my adventure process. I'm going to use all the versions, and then I'm going to create the report. Cool. So then you can see that I have played Dungeons and Dragons 12 times. I have 12 start events. You can see that most people go the red door. A few people go the green door. Blue door, not very popular, which actually, I think it came last as well on the quiz. You can see here that people spun around here a lot. This number indicates the number of times this activity was run. You can see that we then 10 people arrived here, 7 arrived here, 1 died, who couldn't figure out what happened. Then we also have the fight. We had 11 fights, of which 3 people ended in death and 8 were successful. And mostly we were safe. So this is a fun adventure to be able to see where we actually spend most, what is the most common route for our adventure. We can also find out other more complicated things, like for instance, how long everything took. So you see that it usually took 7 minutes for people to get through this point. The crypt only took 3. The fight, 21 seconds, very fast. And generally 1 minute in there, people spend a lot, 17 hours dead. It's a long time to spend dead. That's a real shame. But people spend a lot of time right there. And that's quite useful as well. Now, as well as seeing process reports like this, you can actually just get really simple data analysis as well from this. So let's create a new report that's going to be based on my adventure process. But this time I want to use the data that was created. So I want a report where I'm going to choose, let's see, report setup. I'm interested in the, let's see, where's the, yeah, all versions. I'm interested in, let's say, I don't know, the flow node, which was executed. I'm interested in the number of times that this flow node you have died was executed. Let's add that filter. Let's just see some account of instances. So 4 times we've had that problem. Let's maybe take a look at the duration. So it normally took 17 hours. That's a long time for this process to end. And you can start playing around with this data quite a lot. And in the end, questions asked. That's a weird variable. But in the end, you can actually manipulate your process to be able to tell you things about your campaign and your process to be able to help you improve it in future. And that's a really nice technique as well. So hopefully you enjoyed the fun little trip that we've just taken together. Well done on surviving. It wasn't easy. And I shall take any random questions that I don't know how people would have questions, but let's find out. Oh, there are questions. Let's if there are any more, you can feel free to ask them to me. I'll take questions on literally anything. So you know. So let's see the first question. I did mention already how my hawk is doing lockdown. Very sad time for the hawk. Can we implement a loop back later so we can still pick up some of the gold? Yeah, let's do that. Oh, I have a very clever idea for that. So let's imagine we made it this far. What we can do is we can actually create a compensation event, okay, that is triggered if we went this direction. Okay, and then we can have a little catch here that then says, go pick up gold. Which means if we actually make it this far, we will then get the gold as well. So no problem. That is solved. So yeah, no problem, Tees. I'm sure. I'm glad your focus was there. Is it possible to easily get a user input for the process step by exposing generated REST interfaces? Oh yeah, I'm going to put this. Sorry, I got distracted there. Yeah, absolutely. The front end I created was very basic and was just very quick and dirty, obviously, and this is a single page. The reality is you can create. We have a really extensive REST API. In most architectures, you would use maybe the open API that Shira showed earlier to generate all of the REST call, using the REST API to generate in whatever language you like, a nice way of communicating your user between your user task and the engine. Most people do create their own front end and uses our REST API in order to communicate. What I did was just a very quick way of doing it. So I hope that answers your question. I should answer this question. I'm definitely going to share this code. I finished writing it 3 hours ago, which is why it's not on GitHub yet. So I'll put all of that online. It's nothing too interesting, I'm sorry to say, and but it's at least people can can get started quite quickly. It's all self-contained, and you'll be able to play around with it if you like. So let's start up here. Oh, I answered this one. Is it possible to specify which process steps are susceptible to the action event attack? Yes, it is. So the way events work really differently depending on the kind of event. So for instance, if we look at this event, so this is a conditional event. The scope for this is incredibly specific. This is saying that if a variable called plan exists while this task is active, while this task is alive, then it will trigger. But if we're up here or anywhere else, this event doesn't matter. Okay. Up here, this thing is waiting for this fight, a specific escalation called fight. So it's actually, but it can happen from anywhere. This means it can be triggered from anywhere, but only if that triggering has sent this keyword with it as well, which means you could have lots of different events all waiting for different things that may happen at any time. The way you can ensure that certain events aren't triggered under certain conditions is by scoping them. So for instance, this event, the error event, can only happen if this task is active, but if we wanted to, we could have, let's say, a subprocess like this, and we could have an error event that is triggered. Sorry, let's see how quickly I can model this. An error event that is triggered as long as anything in here is active. So you can actually play around with scoping in order to ensure that events are only activated. Error events propagate up, so they'll always go to the next scope. I hope that answers a question correctly. How come let's just tick that. I'm going to assume it's correct. How come it represents dependency between not leaving the crypto and find skeleton flow station relation? So it's actually based on the variables. So if I trigger this event, where's it gone? Yes, if I trigger this particular event from here, it'll actually have a variable context with it. And then this task can read the current context of like, okay, what did they choose to do when they clicked fight? And then they can actually, the front end can then display whatever it likes, depending on what the current context is. So it's a combination of two things, the event being thrown and the current variables that exist in the process that can be used. Most variables by default are global. So it means if you set a variable here, that variable is available everywhere else for if they ask for it, even here. Okay, hope that answers the question. Great. I will take any last questions if there are any. If not, I'm going to pass it back to Glenn, I guess, to close this out, or whoever it is. Yep. Great. Thanks a lot for the fun adventure. I will pass it back to Glenn. Glenn, thanks a lot. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Niall. Thanks, Suresh. Burns already left the call, but yeah, I would like to thank everyone for their interaction, their engagement with questions, also on Slido, being able to participate in the questions that we asked. We will be sharing a recording of this for people that are interested. Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for taking part. I understand it's the middle of your day as well, so highly appreciate that. Yeah, and we look forward to doing this again, maybe in about 6 months' time. Hopefully, then we can do it in person, followed by some beers in Amsterdam, right? So, what's your view on that one, Niall?
Good, I mute myself. Yeah, I've always loved. I've been to Netherlands loads of times for loads of meetups, and they're always loads of fun. And for some reason, every time I go there, people keep handing me beer. Suresh literally made me a beer with my face on it once when I arrived there. So I've got very strong, very, very fond memories of being physically present there. So yeah, I'm dying to go back to traveling again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. Do show up if you can.
Exactly. Suresh, you got any closing remarks before
Yeah, I kind of shortly forgot to share that because I went through my slides. I said the least important part. So in this regards, if there are any one who wants to contact me, it doesn't really help. At the end, I'm available through LinkedIn, email, my Twitter feed, or the website. As I mentioned, I started this initiative because I believe in Camunda and the product, because I've been using it for more than 3 years now. I really like the patterns that are available by using workflow automation engines, specifically this one, and also Cloud Native. So if you have any questions on either of those, please feel free to contact me, or specifically Camunda in general, because we're all eager to help in any way. That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, same goes from my side. If you have any questions, sorry, you see this one now. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. glenn.brown@camunda.com. And we're happy to take any of your questions that you have. If you want to have a follow-up, if you want to have a demonstration, or just want to have a chat about how Camunda may be able to help you automate certain processes, then we're here to support you in that sense. So yeah, with that all being said, I'd like to wish everyone a good afternoon. Yeah, and hopefully speak soon again. Once again, thanks everyone.
As now also mentioned, the next one is going to be the goal to do it live, but we'll have to see how it goes. If my vaccine process will help them to agree.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.